Hey, what's up? It's Reagan and welcome back to my channel. I hope you're well and you might want to grab a coffee, a tea, a glass of wine, and your Goodreads because I have a huge haul today to share with you. Okay, so we have 31 books to go through. I'm sitting on my floor because I could not be bothered to stand and share all of this. So, let me sip my water. Alright, let's go. So, the first book I grabbed... Oh, by the way, I need to share. I bought all these bargain price. The least amount I paid was 10 pence, and the most I paid was £3.49, and that was just on one book. So, I have been a bargain book queen this summer. I don't know where I got this superpower because I've never been able to find bargains like this, so I'm really excited to share it with you. The first book I grabbed is Out of the Easy by Rita Septies, or Septie, I'm not really sure how to say it, but she's the author of Salt to the Sea, Between Shades of Grey, and Fountain of Silence. I have read Salt to the Sea and loved that book, so I really need to get to her other three. I own all of them. This book takes place in the 1950s in New Orleans, and Josie is 17 and the daughter of a locally known prostitute, and she gets caught up between wanting to go to an elite college or university and being stuck in this clandestine underworld after a murder happens. I don't know if it's a murder, it says mysterious death. I'm thinking it's a murder, but who knows. And so if it's anything like this author's other book, I will love it. She is a queen of historical fiction, and I'm looking forward to reading this one. Okay, so I need a pile to put the books I've already gone through. Okay, so this next book, many of you might have read, but I never read them, and it's one of those series that I'm not going to pay full price for because I think that I'm out of the target market, and I'm not sure that I'm going to love them, but I would like to give them a try because they are so big. And that is the Hush Hush series. I found the sequel Crescendo for 10 pence, and I couldn't pass it up, and I thought I'll just start collecting the books as they come at bargain prices, and then eventually I'll read them. So the first book, Hush Hush by Becca Fitzpatrick. From what I understand, it's a young adult paranormal romance about a fallen angel and a forbidden love and an immortal battle. It's teenage angst, and the book came out in 2009, so it has that early 2000s paranormal vibe that I know everyone was craving. I was reading Twilight, I was reading Twilight back in 2009, and I knew about this series and just didn't pick it up. So I will give this a chance when I get to the first book. There are 4. Okay, so very much like the last series, I found this book for 10 pence, and it is Fallen in Love, and they are Tales from the Fallen World by Lauren Kate. And this is also a series about a paranormal romance. I think he's also a fallen angel, but it takes place in medieval England. Not entirely sure, but it's one of those series that I saw as a teenager and considered picking up, but thought that there were better things out there, and so I didn't end up reading it. I would like to give it a chance, so if I do come across the other books at bargain prices, I'll give them a go and then read that series and review it for you. The next book I have for you is an adult fiction book called The Offing by Benjamin Myers. This is about a young man who, after the Second World War, leaves his village of Durham in England and makes his way to Robin's Hood Bay, where he meets an older, eccentric woman, and it's about an unlikely friendship. I'm not sure if this is a romance, but I do know that it focuses heavily on the aftermath of World War II and their friendship, so I'd like to give it a go. It has a really high rating on Goodreads. It has over a 4.0, and it's only 258 pages long, so I'd like to get this one done this summer. Okay, these next giant books I grabbed for 50 pence a piece. They're hardcover Waterstones exclusives, and they are from the Shardlake series by C.J. Sansom. I have books 5 and 7 here with me. There are only 7 in the series, and the first one takes place in the time of Henry VIII. So this is a historical fiction series, and it has a detective thriller aspect to it. I know the first one starts after King Henry VIII demolishes the Catholic Church in England and puts about the Protestant Reformations, and there's a murder, and Matthew Shardlake is he's leading the investigation. So I know this is a really famous, popular series, and I'd like to give it a go, but again, I begrudge spending full price when I don't have to, and I see these around a lot in the UK, so I'm going to try to get more of them in hardback, and then I'll complete my series and give it a shot. But I need the first one to do so. Okay, this next book, my husband grabbed for me, as many of these, he just picked them up and brought them home to me as treats, which was awesome, and I never heard of this one. It's Embers by, I'm going to butcher it, Sándor Márai. It's a Hungarian author who wrote this in 1942 and is now critically acclaimed. It's only 249 pages long, so it's really short, and the synopsis says that it takes place in a forgotten castle where 2 old men haven't seen each other in 41 years, and they reminisce about the deep passions and the darkness that happened at a dinner with a beautiful woman 41 years ago, and how it was a fateful night for all 3 of them. So I'm not sure if it's thrilling or if it's just supposed to be this deeply moving fiction. It says that it works beautifully as a novel of suspense, that it's sobering, and a gripping, elegant tale. So I would like to read this one maybe in the fall when it's a little bit cooler and dark outside. I think that this would be the perfect book for that kind of weather. Okay, let me get out this giant book right here. This is a coffee table book. I love it. It's the Historical Atlas of Knights and Castles by Dr. Ian Barnes. My husband brought this back for me. He got this for 10 pence. It is a £50 book. Oh no, £60 book, so really bargains. And I love anything about England and medieval England, so I haven't read it, but it's really pretty. Has some great photos in it, and it's a subject that I always like to know more about. I read a lot of fantasy books, so I like to read actual history about what I'm reading about when there are knights in shining armor, so I'll have to give this one a go at some point. Okay, so, oh my gosh, this tower of books. The next book I grabbed was The Stranger's Child by Alan Hollinghurst, and this is an adult fiction novel that takes place in 1913. Goodreads describes it as a saga that spans centuries surrounding a love triangle and the myths that come about a night that happened back in 1913 when Cecil Valence goes to stay at the home of his friend George, and he writes a poem about his sister. So I'm not entirely sure what this is about. Other than that, I don't really want to know more. I think that it's really mysterious. I know that this book has a lot of sexual intrigue and that it's praised for its literary and witty prose, and it also explores class etiquette over English generations. So I think that sounds like a good book. I've never read anything like it. Will that stay? Yes. Okay, so the next book I grabbed for 10 pence as well is Eleanor Elephant is Completely Fine by Gail Honeyman, and this won the British Book Award. So this is about a weird girl who just is really unsociable and likes to do everything the same every day, except one day she meets a deeply unhygienic IT guy named Raymond, and the 2 of them save a old man after he falls down, and the 3 of them form this friendship and bond, and their story unfolds from there. That's really all I know about it. It's an adult fiction book, and it also won the Costa First Novel Award. This was published in 2017, and Gail Honeyman is a Scottish author. Yeah, this has won a lot of awards. So I'm glad my husband grabbed me this one. I don't read a lot of adult fiction, so I'm glad to have something that sounds really good and will hopefully get me into that genre more. This is called The Little Paris Bookshop by Nina George, and it's about a man who runs his bookshop in the heart of Paris on the river on a barge, and he has a knack for being able to recommend books to his customers that will heal their souls and help them go through anything that's happening in their lives, except he's not able to help himself. Till one day someone comes into his life and he ends up unmooring his bookshop. It says he sets off in search of the past and his beloved. I think that this is going to be a really heartfelt, easy read, if that makes sense, and just going to be something that's going to put a smile on my face on a rainy day. So let's see if I can add it to the tower. Okay, so the next several books take place around the Tudor era. I love that time in history. I love studying it. I think it's fascinating. And being here in England, I love reading about it. So atmospheric. So I found 3 books out of the Giordano Bruno series by S.J. Paris, the first one being Heresy. And there are 6 books. I also have Prophecy and Treachery. And these were each 10 pence, so that's crazy. This series follows Giordano Bruno, who was an actual man who lived in the 1500s, and he was a scientist, a theorist, a mathematician, a philosopher, and a monk, and he was burned at the stake by the Roman Catholic Church for heresy. This series starts with Queen Elizabeth assigning him to Oxford University to follow up on a murder, and he discovers that there's a real threat to her throne and her reign. That's pretty much all I know. I think that this is just historical fiction. I don't think that there are any fantasy elements in it, but I do love that time period, and I know that this series is quite popular, so I'm going to give these a go. Okay, so the next 3 books are historical nonfiction. The first one being Crown of Thistles by Linda Porter, and this is about the rivalry between Mary Queen of Scots and her cousin Elizabeth I. And my husband and I toured Scotland for our honeymoon, and it was so much fun. And we saw so many castles and learned so many things about Mary Queen of Scots, and I love the show Reign. I know that it's not historically accurate, especially the costumes, but I was obsessed with that show a few years ago, so I want to give this a read and learn more about her life and what happened and how Scotland really became a part of English territory, and is now Great Britain. Okay, and then I have House of Treason, The Rise and Fall of the Tudor Dynasty, and this follows the Howard family, which includes 2 queens, Anne Boleyn and Catherine Howard, both wives of King Henry VIII, and it talks about how they were from the Howard family, from the Dukes of Norfolk, I can never say that, my husband always has to correct me, and about how that family was really behind so much power and the decisions of the English throne. So I like that it dives into like a really specific part, because I feel like a lot of books on the Tudor time period focuses on Henry VIII or all of his wives as a whole, and so I like that this dives into just that family. Then I grabbed The Private Lives of the Tudors by Tracy Borman, and this just goes into like nitty-gritty stuff. So it says on the back, what did Henry VIII eat for dinner? How did Elizabeth I clean her teeth? What did the infamous Tudor bedding ceremony really involve? So I think it's just details that aren't really publicly known, and I would love to learn more about this. It's in great condition, and again, 10 pence. I mean, my bargain hunting has been off the charts recently. Okay, quick iced coffee break. Okay, this next book I kind of got as a joke for myself. I don't want to take it too seriously. It was 10 pence. It's called The Henry Game, and it says he's royal, he's rude, and he's back from the dead. And it's about 2 girls, teenagers, who bring back King Henry VIII. It might be terrible. Yeah, I mean, why would you want to bring him back, and why are there girls that use a Ouija board to bring him back from the dead? Does it romanticize him? He was crazy. I'm not sure. I'm just going to read it as a fluff when I just need something funny and I just can't take anything seriously. So I grabbed it. I might hate it. I don't know. Okay, These next two books are kind of similar. The first one is Rivers of London by Ben Aaronovitch, not sure how to say that. There are 9 books in this adult fantasy series. I have so many times in Waterstones over the last several months almost bought this at full price. I just was always drawn to it. I've seen it for a long time. And I found this book for £3.49 at a charity shop in Bath, and this is the most I've paid for a book out of all of these. So, and after getting books for 10 pence, I was like, do I want to pay £3.49? I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay, so this is blurbed by Diana Gabaldon, who wrote the Outlander series, and she says, this is what would happen if Harry Potter grew up and joined the Fez. So I love that. I was captivated by that blurb. It's about a investigator who solves crimes surrounding magic, and this book starts off when he takes a witness statement from someone who is already dead. And that's pretty much what I know about this book. I think it's going to be a thriller, and there's a lot of mystery surrounding it that we're going to have to try to solve, so I don't want to look into it anymore in case there are spoilers on Goodreads or Bookstagram. Then, similar but different, I found this for 10 pence, The Incendiaries Trials by James McCreet, and it says Victorian London is burning and a killer is on the loose. It is about a Victorian detective who teams up with a arrested criminal to find a murderer, and there's a big plot twist that says in the blurb, so maybe it's not a plot twist, but it says that someone who is very close to them is the actual murderer. Is the actual murderer. So, not sure what to expect from this author. I've never read anything by him. I've never even seen this book, but I believe it is an adult historical fiction. And so that's a lot of my London books. Okay, next up, I found this book in the Cotswolds in a small village, and it's called The Constant Queen by Joanna Courtney. This is book 2 in a trilogy, and let me pull this up on Goodreads so I give you the right information. Okay, so the author wrote a trilogy about 3 real-life women from the Saxons, the Vikings, and the Normans who all try to conquer England in 1066. So the first one follows Edith of Mercia and the wife of King Harold, and the second one that I have follows Elizaveta of Kiev, wife of Harold Herodotus, and Matilda of Flanders is in the third book, and she was wife of William the Conqueror. I know that they're heavy on the romance, and they also take a look into women that are kind of forgotten about, who were really vital to establishing England as we know it today. So this is a Viking romance, historical fiction. I feel like I could read this first and it's its own storyline, but I know that there's that tying thread that this is all happening in 1066 and we have 3 people trying to take over the English throne, so I might have to find the first one before I read it, but I am excited to read this one soon. I'll just pop that up there. Okay, oh, I forgot I grabbed Torment for 10 pence by Lauren Kate. This is the sequel to Fallen, and I grabbed her other book, so once I get Fallen and I collect these really bargain prices, I'll give them a read. And then I also have Revelation from C.J. Sansom, and since I have the others in hardback, and I had grabbed this one first at 10 pence, I just want to grab them all in hardback, so I'm going to probably be keeping onto this just to read it, and then once I can replace it with hardback, I will. Okay, next up, in my last haul, which I will link in the description bar and up above, I grabbed for 10 pence Labyrinth and, I can never say this, Sepulture? Unsure, I know I butchered it, which are 2 books in Kate Moss's trilogy, and I grabbed the third one, Citadel, for 10 pence. I found these at the same charity shop over the course of a week, and they have so many books that I think they just bring out random ones and put them on a shelf once there's room, and there needs to be books out there because I'm sure someone like donated these as a set. But I got the third one. I'm not 100% sure what this is about. I know the first one takes place in 1209, and it also takes place in July 2005, so you're following two different timelines and two different women who discover this secret in France, in Labyrinth, so not really sure where it continues on from there, but I now have the set. And then I found for 10 pence as well The Winter Ghost by Kate Moss, and I think this is a standalone. It takes place in 1928 and follows a man named Freddie Watson after the First World War, and he gets lost in a snowstorm and crashes his car in France, and he ends up at this inn and meeting a woman where they spend the night telling each other stories, and I think that there might be some romance involved, but by the time morning comes around, she's gone, and he ends up discovering a cave and possibly find himself in the midst of a forgotten murder that happened over 700 years ago. It's a short book. I think that the plot sounds really interesting. It's only 282 pages. So I'll probably read this one first before I read her other books. Then, along the same line, at the same charity shop, in my last haul, I had hauled two of this quartet by Alison Croghan, and the first one being The Gift, which I know in the US is called The Naming for some reason, and I now have books 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the Pelennor Quartet, which is a high fantasy YA series that came out in the early 2000s. It has great reviews on Goodreads. I can't believe I hadn't heard of it before. I know that the first book follows a young girl who is a slave and discovers she has a gift. I'm not sure what the gift is, of course, and she ends up going on an epic journey that takes her to dark forces and deep otherworldly terrors. So that's what I know about it, and I would like to give this one a binge soon. Okay, my piles are... I've kind of shifted around. Okay, the next one I have is Domina, or Domina, by S.L. Hilton. I didn't know what this was. My husband grabbed a lot of these and brought them home for me, which was really sweet a few days ago, and this was the one he brought back. I looked it up on Goodreads, and it's number 2 in a series by her. I read that this is very smutty, and some people love it because that's what it is, and other people didn't know that that's what it was going to be and really did not leave good reviews for this book. But I know it's about a murder that takes place in Venice. That's all I know, but I know it's the sequel, so I need to get the first one to read this book. The next book my husband brought back for me is Possession by A.S. Bryant, and this is the winner of the 1990 Booker Prize. I'd never heard of this book, so when I looked it up, it was actually made into a movie with Gwyneth Paltrow and Aaron Eckhart. I had no idea. It is about two scholars who are tracking the lives of Victorian poets and their forbidden love affair. I think it's going to be really steamy. I'm going to read the book before I watch the movie. I mean, it's award-winning. It must be fantastic. I think that this is an adult romance book. I could be wrong about that. Okay. Then I have Becoming Michelle Obama. This is a book that my husband has been wanting to read for a really long time, so he grabbed this one for himself, but I also would like to read it. I know it has fantastic reviews, and there's now that show on Netflix. I'm sure that she has some fantastic things to say. My mom read this book, and she loved it as well, so when I'm in the mood for an autobiography, I will pick this one up. I primarily read a lot of fantasy and historical fiction, so when I get an autobiography, it's kind of a rarity, but this is definitely one that I would like to read. Let's see if I can balance that. Yes, oh my gosh, this looks crazy. Okay, the very last book I have is the one my husband grabbed me, and it is A Royal Duty by Paul Burrell. Paul Burrell was Princess Diana's closest confidant and Footman, I believe. This has great reviews. It's supposed to be an inside scoop into who she really was. I think that it paints her in a beautiful light. I don't think it's anything gossipy or trying to put her down. So I'm a huge fan of Princess Diana, and I will give this one a read. Alright, you guys, that is all I have for you today. I hope that you enjoyed this haul. I have so many more. I've actually just got a few more books yesterday, and so I'll be doing another haul soon. If you did like this video, please like and hit that subscribe button. I post every Sunday, Wednesday, and Friday. I also have a Bookstagram account, which is at Reagan's Reads, and I post on there every day. I love, love, love that account. I love connecting with you guys and talking about books. I really don't have a lot of friends in my life who read books on a regular basis, so I love being able to talk with you guys. Drop a comment below what your favorite book is that you hauled recently, and I would love to chat with you. If you've read any of the books that I've hauled today, please leave a comment and let me know if you liked it. I think that a lot of these I'm really gonna love. I just need to read at a much faster pace because, yeah, I've been reading like 4 books a month, and I need to be reading 4 books a week to really keep up with the amount of books that I'm bringing into the house. But thank you so much, you guys, and I will see you next time. Bye!